All right, get started up in just another minute or two. Pretty good turnout tonight. How are you doing, Herb? Find the unmute.
Yeah, I was on mute and my cursor was frozen and I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, doing well. How is everybody else doing?
Great.
Pretty good. Just another minute or so. Somebody else coming in. All right, maybe we'll get started. It's 7:15 now. So welcome everyone. This is the April 2023 meeting of the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. I'm Jeremy, N2ZLQ, a club president. So I want to welcome everyone who's joining us. I know we have a few people from some of the neighboring clubs, so welcome all of you. And you know where to find us now. We're here every fourth Tuesday on Zoom. So as we normally do, we'll start with a round of introductions. So we got a pretty good group tonight. So let's, if your call sign ends in Alpha through Hotel, check in now.
Jim, W3JNF.
Nick, K3ITH.
Ryan,
John,
Alpha 3 Bravo Kilo.
John, KC3CEW.
Good evening, Steve, K3FZT.
All right. How about India through Oscar?
Hey, Bob, W3PZO.
Rich, KB3VZL.
Dale's here, KC3SSG.
Michelle, Kilo Bravo 3, Mighty Talking Woman.
Ed, W3KPY.
All right. Kilo 3, Yankee Romeo, Herb.
Sorry about the dog. W3 Whiskey Hotel Kilo from the Holmesburg Amateur Radio Club. Saul.
How about Quebec through Zulu?
Whoops, I went out of turn.
K3DS, Dennis.
Good evening, Peter, KAPT, Philadelphia.
Good evening, everyone. The name is Drew, KC3 UKF. I'm a member with Philmont. Glad to be here tonight.
All right. Anybody else who didn't check in yet? And of course, anyone on YouTube, you can type your info in whenever you would like to. All right. So let's get started. I don't see Lou here right now, so we don't have a treasurer's report. So let's head right up to technical service, our vast committee of one. Dennis.
Okay, there we are. Mark has 6 active repeaters, 2 of which are off the air at the moment. So you can look on the website to figure out where they are. But the 2 that are off the air are the 220 repeater at Darby, because we're trying to diagnose a desensing problem on 14736. The amount of activity on Darby 14736 is very minimal. I haven't gotten a lot of reports. I don't have any conclusions about whether the 220 repeater is causing a problem, as reported on a couple of blogs. The other machine that's off is 14513. Nothing wrong with it. It's the controller that had to be updated, and I have not got back to Paoli. However, at Paoli, our 445675 UHF fusion repeater is on the air. And it's also in a room right now. As I was saying before the club meeting started, if Steve and I actually point to the same room, that means the 2 repeaters will be linked through the magic of Yaesu Fusion Wires X. So that could be kind of interesting. So if you haven't gotten a Fusion radio now might be the time to seriously consider it. That's it for the technical report.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. So let's see some upcoming events. This Saturday, April 29th, we have a club breakfast. So that is our usual once a month event. That will be at Andy's Diner in Conshohocken. It's right off the Ridge Pike exit of the PA or of the Blue Route. Actually, I just see Ned coming in now, so maybe I'll give him a minute or so. But a new thing that we've been doing lately is breakfast on cue. So for a new person who shows up to the breakfast for the first time, check in on the repeater on the way in, and Ned will pick you up. I'm not sure. I think Ned's still getting connected to audio there. So maybe I will give him a few minutes and then he can make an announcement. So let's see. How about public service? Jim.
Good evening, everyone. The first public service event of the year is going to be the Radnor Memorial Day Parade. And that's on Memorial Day, which is May 29th. We're going to meet at the Micro Center parking lot at 8 o'clock. And we need a lot of people because it's a big parade. So anybody that needs to sign up, it's on the website. My phone number's on there, email. If you have any questions, feel free. But we did have some earlier ones, but a couple of them have already been moved. The one at the Penwood was moved to October. That's usually one of our first. So that's where we're at as far as public service goes. Radnor Memorial Day Parade.
Okay. Have you heard anything more about the Norristown 5K?
Not a single word. So
right.
I have to think that if it's going to go off, it's going to go back to November. I think that, they had it in November for so long, and I think they're going to leave it in November, but I haven't heard anything. So that's just pure speculation.
All right. Yeah, normally that's been tied to Veterans Day. So let's, I guess we'll assume that that's how it'll be happening.
I'm wearing my shirt for that event. So.
Oh, there you go. All right. All right. How about while we're at it, Field Day?
Field Day, June 24th and 25th. We're all locked in. We're going to have Boy Scout training there for the Radio Merit Badge. What we're going to do, we're going to take up the equipment on Friday. So we'll need a couple volunteers as we get closer to take the equipment from Brian's house up to the fire company. And we lock it up, and then Saturday morning, everybody meets at 9 o'clock, we start to set up. And at 2 o'clock, we are off and running. So that is a little ways away, but we're ready to go. If anybody wants to be a co-chair with me or help me out, unfortunately, as things work out in life, I'm going to be in Disney World on the 24th. So I'm going to need some help. Everything will be set up. It's just that I'd like a point person if somebody wants to volunteer for that. So that's where we're at with field day. More to follow as we get closer.
All right. Thanks, Jim. So we will have a meeting to discuss field day. So I think we'll have to figure out when to make the date for that. So that will probably be maybe the Tuesday before field day, unless you think you need a little bit more time.
I think that's plenty of time. It's pretty much automatic the way we do things, the setup and everything. We're a well-oiled machine, all of the members that attend. And, you know, we'd like some new members there too, because there's tons of room, tons of food, tons of fun, and lots of radio. So looking forward to that.
All right. Yeah, I think that would be June 21st is the Tuesday before field day. So we'll plan on having a Zoom meeting then. All right. So let's see. Next
Question?
up on my list. Yeah,
Question?
go ahead.
Jeremy, do you have an update on what's happening with the scouts or the bird badge?
Nothing yet. I usually don't reach
Okay.
out until May. Yeah, I'm just getting through the
Okay.
last 2 weeks of the semester here. As soon as that's done, I'll
Just-
reach
just-
out.
Just a comment, if I might, on the scouts. If you have an issue, Jeremy, I'm a commissioner in the Cradle of Liberty, so I can get as many scouts as we need. Not that we want hundreds of them, but I think a good number is around 20-ish.
Yeah, we have no problem
That's about
getting
the
them.
max.
Yeah,
That's about the max.
right.
We have no problem getting signups once the word gets out. But
Okay.
last year we had a hard time getting the word out because people weren't responding.
Okay.
All right. So that's field day. Hamfest is next on my list. Bob said he couldn't make it tonight, but the Hamfest is confirmed for August 13th. And that will be at the, go back to this for a second. That will be at the Kimberton Fairgrounds in Kimberton or Phoenixville. Not exactly sure where that is. So or is it Kimberton or Phoenixville? I'm not sure what the zip code is, but it's the same place we've been for quite a few years. So we're really looking forward to that. Bob did let me know that he printed off all of the Hamfest flyers. We do have some upcoming Hamfest. So there's the York Hamfest, which is this Saturday, April 29th. And the following week is the Warminster Hamfest, which is May 7th. So it would be nice if we had somebody to go up to one or both of those and hand out some Hamfest flyers. So if anyone does have, planning on going up there, you can contact Bob. If you want to reach him, send an email to hamfest@marc-radio.org and we can get his contact information to you and we can get you those flyers. So you can maybe swing by Bob's place and pick them up, or you could just print some off from the website. Flyer is up there now. So let's see. With that, anything else on the Hamfest?
Can I just
Jerry, I saw that you mentioned we already started to get donations. I believe from a timeshare remote ham outfit.
Yeah, so we did get one donation so far, hopefully many more to go. Ready to come over here.
All right, if you would, forward them to me, I will put them in the queue for printing and enveloping and, add them to the list.
Okay. Thanks very much. Anything else for Hamfest?
I have a comment, Jerry. Jeremy. I know Bob's going to be looking for some volunteers to help with the speaker system once he finds out and gets the okay. So, keep that in the back of your mind. It'll probably be, a few days before the Hamfest, but we're gonna need a few hands to do some wiring on the speaker system as it was rearranged when they did the renovations. So I'll just mention that.
Okay. Let's see. How about nets? Herb, you want to give a plug for the nets?
All right, that's one way to by the space bar. My cursor is my mouse is acting up. Anyway, so for nets, yeah, we have always a need of new net control operators. We've got the sign up sheet. We moved to an electronic sign up board using the website Sign Up Genius. And the normal net control operators get an email once a month with a link to the sign up sheet, and the link is also posted on the club website. Dennis does a good job of posting that every month. So please, I would invite anybody who would like to sign up for a turn to be a net control operator to please do so. There's a number of slots in May that are still available. And I just also want to point out that without any coordination with Jim, I am also wearing my Veterans Day Memorial Run t-shirt, but it's hidden under a hoodie. So this was the t-shirt of the day, I think, for today. All right, thanks. Back to net.
I guess everyone's going to find out we all do our clothes shopping at the same place. We've got Vietnam veterans, we've got Radnor Run, we've got all of that. So let's see. A week from Saturday, May 6th, we have a VE testing session coming up. I think I see Dick out there. Did you want to give a quick plug for that?
Yes, I would. You're right. It's Saturday, May 6th. We already have one candidate signed up. But he's going to have his father with him. Then the next scheduled one was the first Saturday in August. We decided elected not to have it the first Saturday, but the second Sunday, which is the Ham Fest. So that's what we did last year, and we're doing the same thing this year. And I have one candidate signed up for the Ham Fest. She didn't think she would be ready for the May meeting, so I explained to her, certainly welcome to come to the Ham Fest. And that's about it. Back to you, Jeremy. Thank you.
Can I make a comment or observation about that? So if you've got an 18-year-old signed up for testing at the next session, I don't know what the protocols are on privacy or whatever, but my son is a 16-year-old and he's licensed, and he's always complaining that it's really hard to find other youth operators. So it would be so great if we can put them in touch.
Well, let's see how he does on the exam first, but I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, you look on the member list, KC3 NTC, Kilo Charlie 3 November Tango Charlie. That's Christopher. So he's good on QRZ, although he never checks his email. Like everybody that age, I think.
Yeah, let me get a pencil. You exceeded my memory capacity.
Herb, Young Amateurs Radio Club. It exists. It has a Discord, and it is very active in the Philadelphia area. Young Amateurs Radio Club. They had their own winter field day this past year. They have a Discord.
And Discord is great because now everybody knows what Discord is, but I learned what Discord was from Chris a few years ago. So yeah, they all use Discord. That's great.
Hey, Herb, can you give me your son's name and call again, please?
Sure. His name is Chris, and the call sign is Kilo Charlie 3 November Tango Charlie.
Okay, very good. I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Back to you, Jeremy.
All right. Thanks, Dick, for that update. Dick does a great job with our VE testing sessions, which we normally run quarterly. So next one will be May 6th, and the next one after that will be August 13th at the Hamfest. I actually see Ned has his hand up, and I was actually going to call on you next to tell us about Breakfast on Cue. So Ned, go ahead.
Okay, first off, Jeremy, I don't have the headset on. How do I sound?
You're good.
Okay, because this is also a different device. First off, going back to the previous conversation, I've actually been considering suggesting for the last, 2 or 3 minutes, maybe MARC sponsoring an under 21 net. How about if we suggest to these two hams that they become our or the prospective ham, our cornerstone stations in the under 21 net for the Delaware Valley? What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. I think if we have a nucleus to get it started.
We got to have a nucleus to get it started. And we
Yeah.
are the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club, so it's not like we're beholden to any geography. So there you go. And as far as Breakfast on Cue this coming Saturday at Andy's Diner outside of Conshohocken on Ridge Pike is the monthly MARC Eyeball Breakfast. And as I've been saying, anyone who's never been to a MARC breakfast and is there on talk-in on the repeater on the way in, I will buy breakfast.
Can people put on fake mustaches and stuff and get a second breakfast for free?
They can. I'm not paying for
it. All right. Thanks, Ned. This has been a great thing. So once again, for new folks out there, if you are interested in joining the club, we are the Mid-Atlantic Amateur Radio Club. You can find us at marc-radio.org. That's marc-radio.org. You can find all about what we're doing. And you got a little overview of that since we are ramping up into the spring and summer season now. So our public service events, Field Day, Hamfest, all that's coming up. We have our breakfast, which we restarted last year. We have our monthly meetings. So of course, we'd love to have the more the merrier. All right, so let me see. Is there anything else? Any other club events? Anyone else with any other announcements? All right, nothing heard. So I will give a little update on programs. In May, we're going to have Andrew, KA2DDO. Actually, I think he's out there in the audience tonight. Andrew, did you want to give a little plug for your presentation next month? Sure, I think I see Andrew there, but he's muted right now. Okay. Well, Andrew will be here next month. He'll tell us about APRS. June, we'll have a meeting to discuss planning for Field Day, and probably in July, planning for the Hamfest. Andrew says as soon as he finds the microphone, I'll send you a little prompt there. All right, I guess Andrew's busy there, so maybe we'll get him a little bit later on, maybe after the presentation. So tonight's meeting I've been looking forward to for a while. We're going to have Steve, K3FZT. So for those of you who don't know the background, we have two 440 repeaters that are fusion repeaters. And for several years, they've been operating in standalone mode. But very recently, we have connected them to the Wires X internet linking system. So Steve has set up one of the internet links. He's actually running it out of his house, because getting internet service at repeater sites is kind of difficult. So another way you can do it is with a remote RF link to the repeater. So Steve has been doing that for a while, and it seems like it's been very successful. So we decided we would have Steve here to tell us about what's going on with Fusion and some of the things that you can do with our Fusion repeaters and the internet linking capabilities. So Steve, take it away.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. I'm going to share my screen, folks, and when I'm on a static slide, I'll be happy to take your questions. But when I'm doing the demos, please hold your questions or put them into the chat, and Jeremy will share them out at an appropriate time. So that's my ask on questions. Let's have lots of questions and discussion, but only when on a static slide. So WIRES-X is an acronym, and WIRES-X is actually the third iteration of WIRES. There was WIRES, there was WIRES 2, and now we have WIRES-X. Since the FTM 400 came out and the DR1X in the mid-2010s, I'm not sure whether it was 2015 or 2016. YSF is an abbreviation in common use. Indeed, it's used as the name for a set of reflectors. Yaesu prefers the full name, Yaesu System Fusion. Y Fusion. Yaesu System Fusion, in Yaesu's mind, was about the fusion of analog and C4FM digital. It was intended to be a mashup of analog and digital communications facilitated by receivers and radios, repeaters and radios that could flip between both modes. So in the next 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so, I'd like to go through and share with you a model of YSF, of wires that's my concept. This has got nothing to do with Yaesu. It's the way I think about the system, and perhaps it can be helpful to you because it's very operationally focused. It is not theoretically focused. Even though I got the idea, and many of you here know far more about computing and networking than do I, and I'll come back to that. I'm then going to go through a series of demonstrations, actually demonstrating on my FT991 alpha, which I have set up here to point at the Darby repeater, and which will enable the demonstration with full video of the connection and use of WIRES-X with that repeater. If I get a chance, I will try some of the same demonstration on my FT70D. Yes, when hooked to an outdoor antenna, the 5 watts seems to work. Last but not least, I'll make a mention of why WIRES-X and reflectors, the FCS, YSF, XLX, YCS reflector system do not connect unless someone builds a bridge. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So here, courtesy of another one of the clubs I belong to, the New England Fusion Group, who meets over WIRES-X on Sunday afternoons at 3 o'clock local time, is an overview model of the WIRES-X system. Can you see my mouse pointer? Is that visible? Somebody?
Yes, yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So here we as a user are with our C4 FM radio, an FT991 and FT70D. In fact, a discontinued but still quite usable FTM 7250. And I really don't want to spend a lot of time looking at this layout, but suffice it to say, if you have internet at the repeater site, you connect your HRI 200 here to your PC, to the repeater, and you're done. If you don't have internet at the repeater site, you connect a donor radio, and that then enables the connection to the repeater, of a node to the repeater. This is unique among the digital modes and enables many repeaters that otherwise couldn't have an internet or digital connection to operate in digital modes. In our instance, it's repeaters that are on the top floors of hospitals. But just imagine in California, if you're on a mountaintop or elsewhere in the country, up well up on a hill. What's down here, and let me move ahead, I've highlighted this area. It's the same slide. We are not going to talk about creating your own personal digital node, your own portable digital node. This is something that I'll be happy to help people do, but every computer is different and every radio is a little bit different. And if you go down this rabbit hole, I'm not sure I'd ever climb out again. So we are going to confine our discussion tonight to this part of the configuration. There's another reason for that as well. Why do we want to speak through a repeater rather than through a personal digital node? Well, part of ham radio are our communities. We belong to many different communities, but one of our communities is our amateur radio community. And when we carry on our communication through the repeater, it's simply far more public. Yes, even on a private digital node, you are not having private communication. But when you're using the repeater, the community can engage with you. The community's curiosity may be prompted by hearing you in communication with others, or by hearing the net you are listening to. So it's really an important idea that I'd like to get across, that using a repeater really makes a difference towards building community. Now, you can create your own node, and there are questions. Do you buy for $120 an HRI 200, or do you create a personal digital node? You will require a node capable radio, and there are only 8 node capable radios presently available. 2 of them have been discontinued by Yaesu, the 100 and the 400, although the 400 still has limited availability in the marketplace. The handhelds FT2, 3, and 5 also suffice. The FT991, the FT991 Alpha, the FT70D, and the FTM7250 cannot serve as a node radio. They do not support use as a personal digital node. That's all I'm going to say on this topic. So I mentioned another model, and I'm sure there are folks in the crowd looking at this and nodding. The Open Systems Interconnect was a model that was widely adopted in the I believe it was initially published in 1983, but it was widely adopted by the mid to late 1980s to support internetworking, connecting different networks together. And I am not going to say more about this other than what you see here is a layered approach going from the physical, which in that era was copper and microwave, all the way up to the application layer. And think about this layered kind of approach, because for me anyway, a layered way of thinking about the WiredX Yaesu system fusion world is helpful. At the physical layer, data link and network layers, we have radio frequency. In the case of connecting to our repeater, 444.050 megahertz. Internet connects nodes, connecting back to the Yaesu servers in Japan and connecting directly among nodes if using a personal digital node. C4FM is akin to the transport layer. C4FM is where our voice communications occur, either digital narrow using 6.25 kilohertz of the 12.5 kilohertz bandwidth that C4FM uses, the other half being available for data, or digital wide using the full 12.5 kilohertz bandwidth. Yaesu system fusion, this mashing up of analog and digital, was really enabled best in Wires X, where rooms may be analog or digital or mixed. The automatic mode selection capability of your fusion capable radios enables them to switch on the fly and respond to whatever they're hearing from the repeater, and then respond to that repeater in the same mode. Command mode is the centerpiece of the demonstrations I'm going to share with you. It allows control of the node that is connected to the repeater you are using. On top of command mode, there are data capable data uses such as text messaging, the ability to create an emergency message that will be actively disseminated for 2 hours, the capability of sharing images and QSL cards, albeit at what most of us would consider a fairly low resolution of 320 by 240 pixels. So I encourage you perhaps to think in terms of this mental model. Before I move on to talking about command mode, I really want to encourage you, if you are going to make use of Wires X, to watch this 30-minute video. It's really excellent, created by one of the net control operators for the Monday night Fusion Technical Net, which takes place on the Bakken Amateur Radio Society's MinWiz, that's the Minnesota-Wisconsin room repeater. I sent out email earlier this week, at least to the MARC mailing list of network of various nets that I listen to or participate in across the week. And this is the granddaddy of them all. I strongly encourage watching this video. In any case, it just a few high points. It emphasizes what we already know. Listen on frequency before you speak. It's good to listen for at least 5 minutes before you go on the frequency. If you go on the frequency with the intent of going to control mode and pointing the repeater at a different room, announce that intention and announce the name and the number of the room you intend to move it to. There's a lot more, but that's the start. So first of all, do you need a Wires X connection to join an active discussion on the repeater you're listening to? You do not need a Wires X connection. To, as with an analog FM repeater, announce that you are monitoring or listening in that Wires X room that the repeater's already connected to, and you're looking for someone to connect to and just have a little conversation, or you're looking for an audio check. Just announce that you're doing it. You do not need a Wires X connection. If, however, you wish to move the repeater to another room other than the one to which it is currently connected, then you must connect to the repeater in Wires X command mode. So that's what we're going to do here. Now I'm going to set the slides aside and put the video on the touch screen of my 991 Alpha. Please break in if you're not hearing me. But please do not break in with questions because I'll be too discombobulated to take them. As I said before we started, this demo might be a little ragged, but it'll be right.
Can I ask a question before you start?
Okay, Herb, go ahead.
What are you going to be on RF? Because I'd like to monitor it on my own Yaesu receiver.
So I'm going to be on the Darby repeaters.
Should be 444.05.
Putting it right up there, Herb. If you look at the screen, it's right in front of you. You got it?
Yeah, yep. Thank you so much.
So to go into command mode on any of the touch screen, well, not any, because with both the FT3 and the FT5, you use buttons on the face, not the touch screen. But here on the FT991 and on the FT70, I'm going to just stick my finger in here. You see it's connected, and it says we are connected to the WB3JOE/R-D node. That's behind me about 100 yards. The D is to remind me it's in Darby. And it says that node is presently connected to the Keystone Wide room. And there are a total of 9 nodes connected to the Keystone Wide room, of which we are one. Now, this is the resting node, if you will, that Dennis and I decided to use. Many repeater owners and operators use America Link because there tends to be activity at all hours of the day and night on America Link. Particularly for a demonstration, I'm happy to use a quieter node because one can only use command node when the node is not ready. If there's voice traffic on the node, the X button does nothing. So there's no connection. So here we see, again, the node connected to the Keystone Wide room, one of 9 nodes. And what that basically means is there can be not only 9 different people, but in effect, 9 different repeater communities connected to this one Keystone Wide room. Because when we connect to a room, Keystone Wide or whatever, all that are connected to our repeater or using our repeater at that point are connected to the same room. Thus, the community grows. But again, remember, we can only take these actions when the node is not busy. I apologize for the bright red spot at the 0 of the 50, that's a reflection from the infrared focusing LED on my camera. So let's search and direct, okay, right here, search and direct. We can search for another room by name, or we can direct our nodes specifically by number to another node. So this is the direct version. And here we are now connected to the MinWiz, the Minnesota, Wisconsin room. We can search. Here we are with a keyboard. And we get to Wolf Den, Wolf Pack. The Wolf Den is the networked repeaters that support the New England Fusion Group. So you see how we can use the tools built into the radio, and your FT70 has the same directing capabilities. It does not have the searching capabilities. However, if you have an FT 100, 200, 300, and I expect the 500 or 400, you can search from those wires X command screens. Once you have connected to the room, if you want to save it for a future time, you simply, I've filled up my favorite list. And I already have Wolf Den on it, so it wouldn't let me do it again. So sorry about that, but you get the idea. You touch it and it'll come out and ask you if it should be saved as a favorite. And you can simply answer yes. And you could save 5 favorites on the FT70D, and on the FT991A, I did look it up, but I've forgotten what the number was. I know that I've not bumped up against it yet. If you want to go to one of the rooms that you've saved, again, you simply pull up your favorites list by touching favorite, and then dial down to wherever you want. Again, I'm going to avoid the busy rooms. So America KCY with 63 or Skyhub Link with 30 are not on my list tonight. Let's pick, this is the Kings County Radio Club Fusion Net up in Brooklyn, New York. So again, I could just touch this and I'll be connected to that room. Once you're connected, you need not remain in Wires X command mode to talk. You can hit the back button and go back to your, in my case, memory screen, where I've saved the repeater's frequency. And you can dial around to a different repeater or whatever you like. You see here up top, the DN changes between voice wide and digital narrow. So that's what I've got for a demonstration. I'll be happy to answer questions at this point. I do have more to cover, at least a little bit of talk about reflectors, so that I can confuse you further. But I'm happy to take any questions.
So, Steve, I'd like to jump in with sort of the first question, which is maybe following right on your demonstration, I guess. So, for people who are new to Fusion, I've had Yaesu radios with C4 FM and Fusion capability for a while, but I don't use it very much because I'm not so familiar with all what you've just demonstrated. But so I have a 7250, FTM 7250, and I tuned to the repeater frequency before you began your demonstration. And all I'm hearing is a bunch of static squawks every time that you entered a command, or presumably when some of those 9 people who were connected to the first room were talking. So do I need to somehow access that myself in Fusion mode as opposed to just being a passive listener?
No, you do not, Herb, and I'm going to prove that to you right now by taking the node back to Keystone Wide. Is your radio on, Herb?
My radio is on, and the LEDs are sort of blinking both green and blue every time you touch a button, but I'm actually not hearing anybody talk.
Up enough so that you'll hear it.
Oh, yeah.
This is K3F.
Well, y'all heard that, right? I heard that.
Yep, we heard it with a little bit of feedback from the latency.
The volume a bit. Others will now be able to hear that I am not in, well, actually I'm still in Wires X command mode. Let me exit that. longer in wires X command mode. And everyone can see that by looking at the Zoom. And yet, everyone is hearing me through your radio rebroadcast over the Zoom meeting application.
Yes.
This is K3FZT. But why don't you mute yourself? I will unmute, and then everyone will hear you speaking through my radio and Zoom.
Roger that.
Right there up on your screen. That's another feature of Wires X that I had forgotten about, and presumably you were going to tell us about. So I guess you're hearing me okay. This is K3YR.
Sounds good, Herb.
So the upshot of that.
I'll mute it again. And speaking over the radio, so you should be able to hear me, Herb. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me? Okay. So I'm going to go clear and just go back to the Zoom. This is K3FZT clear.
So the upshot of that and the demonstration, Steve, that you just did is that we can be passively, as long as we have a Fusion enabled transceiver, we can be passively monitoring the receiver, and we will get the traffic. As long as we've got the AMS mode on, we'll get the traffic that's either analog or digital, depending on what's coming through the repeater at any given moment. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. And your comment about the call sign, the issue is that probably legalistically, if you're in a pure digital room talking only to other digital users, the digital identification of the call sign on the screen suffices. However, it's really not great etiquette because there are mixed rooms and the analog users will not see that. Furthermore, if you join some of the nets that I listed and circulated, they are cross-mode nets, and not all modes support the transfer of the call sign from one to the other. So while there are those that argue verbal identification is not necessary, in my view, good etiquette calls and good ham practice calls for verbal identification in the usual fashion. But yes, for this old forgetful head, it's wonderful to have the call signs in front of you. It really spoils you.
Well, especially because this Fusion is a worldwide system, and there are rooms from all over the world, and sometimes people check in or sign in to whether it's America Link or some of the other rooms, and you wind up with Italian hams or British hams or people from Singapore or Japan, and it's having the call sign printed out there is very useful.
Indeed, indeed. So I'd like to just move on and touch on a couple of other things. What about hotspots? I hear all the time, I connect to WiresX through my hotspot. Well, actually, you don't connect to WiresX through your hotspot. Through your hotspot, you connect to a reflector. And because I'm better with words than I am with drawings, I tried to draw a bridge between WiresX and a reflector, and I gave up. But the idea is that actually a hotspot can be used. The MinWiz folks, for example, use a hotspot to take the WiresX room, MinWiz room, and put it out on the MinWiz reflector, which nicely enough has the same number, 21963, I think. And that's the YSF number. What's the difference between FCS, YSF, XLX, and others? Basically, FCS is a centralized system in which there are big servers and 99 modules per server. YSF is a go-it-alone individual reflector. A lot of folks run YSF reflectors in the cloud. XLX is the newest form, or almost the newest form, of D-Star, which actually supports YSF reflectors. There is now something called YCS, which I don't even remember what it stands for, but it is another flexible tool to connect a room to a reflector, and then one can use the reflector, your hotspot to connect. But again, remember, the hotspot is an individual exercise. You are not engaging a community through a repeater. A reflector is a program running on a computer connected to the internet on one end, and whether connected over the internet or more directly, connected to a hotspot on the other end. It's that hotspot that's listening to a radio. In the case of forming a bridge, it's listening to a Yaesu WiresX node radio. Enough about that. What I've tried to do in the session this evening is offer you a model to think in terms of layers of how WiresX Yaesu System Fusion functions. With Herb's help, we demonstrated that one did not need command mode to speak on a repeater that's already connected to the room you want to use. Repeaters for amateur radio are a means and a center of community. Just adhere to your good practice and the etiquette you already adhered to on analog repeaters. Watch the video for some additional tips. about moving the node, steering a repeater, whatever you want to call it. And there you go. That's my message for this evening. I appreciate your kind attention. For follow-up questions, requests for assistance, or efforts at gratuitous harassment, send me an email. And when this gets posted, there will be a bunch of live links. And this is a listing of half a dozen WiresX machines that are available throughout the Delaware Valley, different corners. And to the best of my knowledge, all of them are open. That means you do not need to be a member of the club that sponsors the repeater to use it. But I do ask that you adhere to good ham practice.
Steve, you need to share the screen for the.
Oops. Wrong screen I've been sharing. Thank you. I apologize. Darn. So here are my comments on reflectors again.
I don't see the screen yet. You need to share it.
Thank you, Jeremy. Like I said, ragged. There you go. Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
So here's the point that reflectors can be bridged to a room, and with the popular rooms, they often are. Someone has put up a reflector almost universally with the support of the room owner. Otherwise, they don't last long. FCS is the centralized version. YSF is more popular because it's a one-off and easily created and managed by an individual. Again, my takeaways for you are think in terms of layers. Command mode is not needed if you're speaking on the repeater. And a big part of ham radio is about community, and that applies to the use of WiresX. Follow up, feel free to reach out. If you'd like individual assistance, connecting to a repeater, connecting to our repeater, or other that's closer to you, I'd be happy to try to help you. Please reach out through email. And in the slide deck, there'll be a bunch of links for additional content. The hamoperator.com website is a rich source. It goes along with the MinWiz net. And then there's a list of some of the local wires X repeaters. To the best of my knowledge, they're all open. That's all I got. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Steve. That's great. I just saw in the chat post that the Penn Wireless is currently running a net on 448.225. So I think that's starting up now. Yeah, so any questions for Steve?
I have a quick question, I think.
Sure.
Steve, nice presentation. And I just wanted to double check about if you're in room A and you want to connect to room B through the repeater, do you have to disconnect first? I noticed you did not, but I wasn't sure if it makes any difference.
No, it's not necessary to disconnect. You in wires X parlance, you are disconnected when you are not in command mode. When you are connected in command mode, you are connected. When you hit that red back button in the lower left-hand corner that I showed several times, you are disconnecting from command mode of that particular node. You don't want to do that because you're going to have to connect again to move the node to the room you now want to connect to. I know you like to connect to Bushmills, which I can never seem to find when it's live.
It's not on that much anymore, to tell you the truth, Steve.
Okay.
Frank does not, Frank stopped keeping it connected because it wasn't getting much use.
Well, we could, if people wanted to have a quick check-in, easy check-in, in addition to the analog repeaters that we operate, it'd be very easy to create a room and publicize it. I've done that. I've canceled the room. I've created it again. The way I learn how to use software is basically by trying every option and trying to crash things. So, we could do that, but it's not necessary. I'm sure that our Western Pennsylvania colleagues would love to hear chatter in Eastern Pennsylvania, and they would probably jump in from time to time. So let's at least give Keystone Wide a good 6-month trial before we decide to do something else.
Sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so I'm a total noob to Fusion. So as I understand it, the repeater can only be actively connected to one room at a time. Like if I key up, it's only going to go out to the one room that's currently active. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm a little more familiar with DMR, where then it's just whatever talk group you're on. So a repeater can be connected to, 10 different talk groups at once, but then it just depends on which talk group you have programmed into the radio. That tells you what you can hear and what you can't hear. So that seems to be a little bit different.
It is a different model. You can move the rooms to any of, hundreds, thousands of rooms on a Fusion repeater. DMR owners, in my experience, commonly lock down time slot 1 and do not permit any channel, any talk groups other than those that they support on time slot 1. they may variably support so-called dynamic talk groups on time slot 2. That's a common arrangement. It is not universal. I also do DMR, obviously.
Because I'm just thinking for DMR, the cost benefit of using repeaters versus using a hotspot is with a hotspot, you can connect to whatever you want because it's not tying up somebody else's repeater. And how is that issue in Fusion? I mean, if I just go onto a repeater, can I connect it to another what do you call it, room? Or would that be frowned upon by the repeater owner?
Again, the repeaters I listed are all open. The repeater owners expect that the nodes will be changed to other rooms. It is not frowned upon. These are open repeaters, and again, adhering to good ham practice, confirming that there's, my experience is most with the W3QV Philmont Fusion repeater, because I'm like 4.5 miles from the towers in Roxborough. I can get into those repeaters with about 2 watts and an HT. So when America Link is on, I listen, I watch. When I'm seeing all K9, W6, W0 calls, and I'm not hearing any 3-land or 2-land calls, I'll put out a call on the local repeater, which is attached to America's Link. And I'll just say K3FZT on the W3QV repeater presently on America's Link. Is anyone using this repeater? And I wait a minute or two. Sometimes I have to listen to an exchange of, the W9 and the K6. And after a couple of minutes hearing nothing, I'll say, nothing heard. Moving the W3QV repeater from America's Link to MinWiz room 21493. This is K3FZT. And I move the room. Virtually everyone who runs a repeater and a node also has a return to home timer set up. It's built into the software so that if there's no conversation being passed through the repeater, it will revert to whatever is its home room in some period of time. 10 minutes is common. I've been a little more cautious than that and have allowed 20 minutes, but I'm going to back it down by 5s to 10 minutes over the next few weeks.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question, whether a connection would time out on its own. Because that's a quick way to piss off a repeater owner, is to connect their repeater to a really, really busy room and then leave it there so it's squawking away all night.
Well, it can if there's traffic through the repeater. If there's no traffic through the repeater, it will revert to whatever the home room is. Repeaters also have You know, everybody sets a repeater timeout timer, just like we do on our analog repeaters. So the Fusion repeaters timeout at 3 minutes. If you're transmitting through the repeater, it's going to drop after 3 minutes.
So in other words, even if the K9 and the W6 are rag chewing for 8 hours, if nobody's coming in on the local machine, it'll revert back home.
Well, no, that's traffic through the repeater.
Oh, I thought you meant coming into the repeater.
Right. If America's link goes dark for 10 minutes, it'll revert, or ours for 20 minutes, it'll revert to Keystone wide.
So wait a while. So you're saying that, like, if I got on and I changed the room to something else, let's say to some DX room or something, and as long as there's traffic in that room, it won't auto revert back to your default setting?
You know, I'm going to at this point say that's the same question Jeremy just asked, and I am uncertain. I need to say to Jeremy that I'm uncertain, and Herb, I am uncertain. I believe that if there's no, the way it's written in help is if there's no traffic through the repeater, but you may be right, and there you go. I'll just have to do some work and nail it down. I'm going to show you what the control software looks like. I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to take this and share it. So this is the control software, and under settings, so I have it at, yeah, I was playing the other day. So there you go. And so
Steve, is this software freeware that you can download, or do you have to buy a disc?
excuse me, Brian.
This software that you're showing us, is this a freeware download?
Yeah, but you have to register on Yaesu's website, and you have to have a radio that is capable of serving as a personal digital node, or you have to have an HRI 200. You register on their website, and it takes them anywhere between 1 and 4 days to get back to you, acknowledging your registration, at which time you can download the control software.
You said an FT200. I have a 400. Does that work?
Yeah, a 400 would work perfectly with this software as a personal digital node. There are 4 modes that one can operate a personal digital node. A personal digital node direct, a personal digital node access point, portable HRI mode direct, portable HRI mode access point. The access point, you need another radio. A lot of people use an FT70, and then you can walk around your property and talk back to the FT-M400 and so forth. But you can use the FT-M400 microphone in direct mode on either PDN, personal digital node, or HRI, or portable HRI mode. Have I confused you enough?
What I was looking for was where do I go? It sounds like I go to the Yaesu site.
Yeah, you go to the.
All right, I'll start there.
You go to the Wires X link on the Yaesu site and you register. You need the serial number of your radio. Everything is driven by that. And the way they're really, I think, pretty smart about it, because if you forget or whatever, and you need to reset things, all you have to do is take a picture of the screen of your radio showing its embedded number, identification number, which is not the serial number on the label, but it's an embedded, electronically embedded in firmware identifier. You take a picture of it on the screen of the radio, and everything flows from that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Steve?
One last comment. I'm 73 years old and wear hearing aids. Digital voice is wonderful. It's clear. There's no static. It's wonderful. And I would tell you that there's a lot of progress in HF digital voice. And it's the same thing. And last but not least, I can kerchunk the repeater that we did the demonstration with. I can connect to it with 5 watts, Wires X. I need to be up at 7 or 8 analog to be at all intelligible, and it's broken. And the problem is I have 100-foot sycamores at the front of my property. And even with the big antenna up at 35 feet, when the sycamores are fully leafed out, it cuts my signal in the direction in the south-southwest direction of Darby from my locale. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Steve. That was a great presentation. If
send
anyone
you
has
the
any other
PDF,
questions.
or I guess I should send it to Dennis.
Yeah. Maybe send it to Dennis and he can post it to the website.
For Brian's benefit, I put a link in the chat box to the Yaesu user for Wires X guide.
Steve, this was a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed it, and I learned a little bit more about the capabilities of my 7250, which go underutilized, and I guess also my Yaesu HT, the FT70D, has those same capabilities. I really am grateful for this. And there was that question that Jeremy asked, and I kind of asked in a different way. And you said you're a little bit uncertain about that. And maybe I could suggest that when you have some free time, maybe tomorrow or in the coming days, we can just empirically test that by your setting a timeout value, and I'll bring the I'll bring the repeater over to some room of my own choosing that has traffic on it, and you'll see if it comes back to home within X, within the specified number of minutes.
I suspect the answer would be no, because I was just thinking that if you were in a net or something like that, you could easily go more than 10 minutes without talking. So then if the connection crapped out on you in the middle of a net, right, otherwise you'd have to be transmitting at least every 10 minutes. So it's probably any activity, whether it's inbound or outbound.
I think so, but you two asking the question, and Jeremy, you're a teacher. I was for a very long time. The best way of learning it solidly is getting it wrong and then going and doing what you need to do to find out what's the real answer. I like that the word fail can be an acronym for first attempt in learning.
Yeah, 1 ounce of experiment outweighs a ton of theory. All right, anything else for Steve? All right, if not, let's thank him for a great talk.
Thank you all. Nice to see some friends from other clubs here. I really appreciate the community coming together. And
yeah, those
tell us about next month.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Good job,
Yes.
Steve.
Good. This microphone's working for a change. Anyway, so I'll be
Maybe I'll
talking.
get more use out of my 400 now.
Yeah, I wish I had a Yaesu rig like that. I can't join your System Fusion stuff yet because I'm on the ICOM side right now. So anyway, so next month I'll be talking about APRS, one of the older digital modes that's still very heavily used these days, and where it came from, what you can do with it, and where it's going.
All right. Thanks very much,
Looking
Andrew.
forward to it.
Looking forward to it. All right. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the club?
Vince, you dropped out on Fusion a couple of minutes ago, Vince, WA3ADI.
I did.
Is
I
that
was calling her, but I don't think he heard me.
I did hear you and I answered, but
Oh, I didn't hear the answer. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
and I actually called you too, so there you go.
Oh, okay.
Now, if it was DMR, then we know that you're all on different talk groups. That's why no one can hear. But this works a little differently. All right. So I guess with that, we will bring tonight's meeting to a close. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And those from neighboring clubs, feel free to join us in the future. We are here every 4th Tuesday right here on Zoom. So with that, I'll say 7-3, and we'll see you next month.
Take care, guys.